It is March of 2026, and there is a ton of news in the Vancouver real estate market. You might be sitting there very confused on what to do. My goal at the end of this video is to leave you feeling more insightful and less confused. I'm going to unpack a few things. We're going to talk about people that are waiting to buy right now, what they should be waiting for. We're going to talk about people that are nervous to upsize. Is it the right time to sell and to move into a larger property? And then, is this a good market for investors? If you want to know everything there is about Vancouver real estate, subscribe below to my YouTube channel. Tap the bell for notifications to be the first to hear what's going on. My name is Megan Becker, local realtor here. My team and I get calls every day from people looking to make moves in the greater Vancouver area. So if you're considering making a move, all my info is in the description box below, so please reach out. Okay, let's talk about the first thing first, is a comment that I hear often. It's buyers waiting for prices to come down. And I get this. It's a very common sentiment because it's 11 months in a row now that we've seen prices on the decline. So it just makes sense. You want to buy at the bottom there. And I actually think most people are looking at this wrong. And what I mean by that, this is a conversation that I've had with a couple of my clients. My goal is not to sell you on the fact that now is the right time to buy, and if you don't buy now, you're missing out. My goal as a professional is not to create fear, it's to create clarity. And I can't tell you when the right time to buy is, but what I can do is provide clarity in the decision-making process. And that's all I do with my clients. I want to understand what your goals are, what your resources are, what you're using real estate to try and accomplish. And then I'm going to share what's going on in the market so that you can have clarity on when does it make the most sense for you to move. And what I ask for people, because it's a common sentiment of like, I'm waiting for prices to drop. And then my question back is, what are you specifically waiting for? Because in order to make a decision, we need to have some signposts in order to, okay, when this happens, I do this. When X happens, I do Y, those types of things. So our decision-making process can be as objective as possible and in line with our goals. And that takes out that emotional, like, oh, I'm that fear of missing out, and so I must jump into the market now. That's not how I want you to make a decision. We want to make it based on your goals and what you want to accomplish. And so that's what I would challenge you. If you find yourself like waiting, which is a very fair statement, there's a lot going on in the economy, political, like prices falling, all of that stuff. Granted, it's a very fair statement, but I would encourage you, if you do want to get into the market in the next year, is have some mile markers. What specifically are you looking for? Are you looking for a specific interest rate? Are you looking for something more specific in your own financial statement? Are you looking for certain things to go on with the real estate itself, inventory-wise, sales to listing ratio? We want to figure out some mile markers because it's next to impossible to time the exact right time to buy, because real estate, it doesn't work like that. And so the best advice that I can give you is figure out your goals, create some objective as possible, measurable signposts that you are looking for so that you can evaluate what's going on. If this happens, then I buy, then I start looking. Or maybe, I've got a few clients right now that they have an idea what they want. They don't absolutely have to move. And my advice to them is now is the time to be really picky on the property. If you're looking for, 2-bed condos, don't just look for any, 2-bed with a decent floor plan. Look for something that has like a unique factor, maybe some really great outdoor space, a building that's harder to get into, something that makes that property stand out from everything else, whether that's, a ton of natural light, great views on the mountain, outdoor space. I said something like that, that is like that wow factor, not just that like, okay, this will do factor. This is the market that you can be picky in. Next thing, let's talk about investors. And I mean, whether you're looking at this as an investment to rent out, or you're looking at this as a personal residence, this principle applies. And the funny thing about the real estate market right now is that a lot of buyers are afraid, which is fair, but that's really the time where investors can capitalize. It's kind of that, funny life uh, principle is like when everybody's doing one thing, do the other thing. And that's where you're going to find great opportunity right now. And so the biggest thing I'm seeing right now is negotiating power. Rewind, if any of you have purchased property back in like 21 or 2021, 2022, you had no leverage. You had no negotiating power. The property came on market. You basically had to go see it within 12 to 24 hours. You had to bring your inspector with you. You had to have your financing lined up and feel comfortable that you can go subject free. Your inspector does the inspection and you basically, there was no rescission back then, and you had a subject free offer and you were in bidding wars. There was no leverage on the buying side. Right now, we've got the ability to negotiate price for the most part. We've got the ability to have subject periods that aren't 3 days. That, a recent deal I did, we had, I think it was a 12 business day, or no, it was a 12 day. I think it turned out to be 10 business day subject period. Just because we asked for it, the subject is for the buyers, and we wanted just to make sure that all of our due diligence was covered there. And so you don't necessarily need to see prices drop to 10%. Some buyers are negotiating like quite a bit off list price right now, plus the ability to have those subjects in there so that you can do your thorough due diligence, have a contractor come in, give you a quote for a renovation, something like that. And here's the last thing that surprises a lot of homeowners is that a slower market can actually be the best time to upsize. And you might be thinking, well, I need to sell in order to buy, and I'm not going to get the sale price that I need in order to move to my next home. Well, here's a way to think about it. This market, like I said, can be a great benefit for those specifically upsizing, because as prices soften, yes, your sale, let's use the example, if you were to sell your condo for $900,000, you have a $900,000 condo. And let's say because prices have softened, now you're only able to sell it for $855. That's 5% decline there. But you're looking at a single family home, or you're looking at a duplex or something around that 1.8 million mark. That $1.8 million home, because prices have softened, is now about 1.71 million. So you've saved 90,000 on that purchase. Yes, you've essentially lost 45,000 on the sale. But like a lot of smart investors know, which I know you guys are smart investors, is that you capitalize, the money is made on the buy, and bigger properties appreciate faster. So it is the gap that is the most important thing when you are upsizing there. So just some perspective around what's going on here. But again, as we all know, and as I share, real estate is very hyper local. So on average, I'll read out some of the numbers, but I wanted to talk about those are the biggest conversations I'm having right now. A lot of people kind of just numbers go over their head, but for some of you that love understanding the numbers and really what's going on, this is for you. So sales in February were 1648, so down 10% year over year. Listings were at 13,545, which is up 6% year over year. New listings in February was 4,700, which is down 6% year over year, which just indicates that sellers are still hesitant to come to market. And so, if you find yourself in that situation, it might be a good time just to have a conversation and, not just focus on the sale price, but map out your entire plan and really see if it makes sense from that whole macro perspective there. And so in a lot of the areas in Greater Vancouver, prices are down. I think the biggest area of opportunity for buyers when it comes to a decrease in price, if we're looking for single-family homes, can be Dunbar, Kerrisdale, Mackenzie Heights, Shaughnessy, Mount Pleasant West, or not Mount Pleasant West, but all those other areas. We're seeing, about a 20% year-over-year decrease. In Vancouver East, Fraser, Maine are down about 10%. And then Mount Pleasant West is the only one that saw like a 2% decrease. That was the least amount of decrease for single family homes. Mount Pleasant West was actually has been one of the hotter areas for single detached properties. If we're looking at townhomes were down about 4% year over year. Some of the biggest decreases can be Cole Harbour, downtown, Fairview, Kerrisdale are some of the biggest decreases. Grandview Woodlands, Hastings. And then some of the areas that actually saw increases, Kitts saw like a very slight increase at 0.3%, and Falls Creek saw a slight increase at 5%. And then if we're looking at condos here, down about 6% year over year. Biggest areas of decrease that are in and around actually the 10-11% are Fairview, Falls Creek, Mount Pleasant, Point Grey, Kerrisdale, Grandview Woodlands, Hastings, and Hastings Sunrise. And Yaletown and Strathcona and Mount Pleasant are the only areas that saw a slight uptick. So potentially new opportunities there, whether you're looking at buying or selling, just to create some perspective. Again, highlighting that, yes, on average, we are down year over year, anywhere between that 6 and 14%. But again, real estate is hyper local. So thanks so much for tuning in this month. If you have any questions about the real estate market or just want to have a conversation, no pressure, no obligation conversation, I'm happy to have that chat. All my info is in the description box below, or if you're getting this from my database, just reply to this email. It is me that gets it. And I would love for you to subscribe to the channel, tap the bell for notifications, and we'll talk to you all